Hänsel und Gretel. At the edge of a great forest lived a poor woodcutter who had not a bite to eat and could hardly give daily bread to his wife and his 2 children, who were called Hänsel and Gretel. Once he couldn't even feed them anymore and had no idea of what to do. He rolled back and forth with worry as he laid in bed. His wife said to him, "Hear me, husband. Tomorrow morning take the 2 children. Give them both a little bit of bread. Then lead them into the forest. In the middle, where it is thickest, build a fire for them. Then go away and leave them there, as we can no longer feed them." "No, wife," said the man. "I can't have that lying on my heart, leaving my own beloved children to be torn up by the wild animals in the woods." "If you can't do it," the woman said, "we will all starve together." And she gave him no peace until he said yes. The 2 children lay awake with hunger and heard everything their mother had said to their father. Gretel thought, "Now I'm done for," and began to cry pitifully. Hänsel said, "Calm yourself, Gretel, and do not grieve. I will help us." And so he rose. He put on his coat, opened the lower door, and sneaked out of the house. The moon shone very bright, and chunky white pebbles glowed brightly around him. Hänsel bent down and stuffed his coat pockets with the little stones until they were quite full. Then he went back into the house and said, "Comfort yourself, Gretel, and sleep well." The children went back to bed and fell asleep. In the morning, before the sun had come up, the mother came and woke them both, saying, "Get up, children. We must go into the woods. Here's a bit of bread for each of you. If you're smart, you'll save it for lunch." Gretel put the bread in her apron because Hänsel had the stones in his pocket. Then they made their way into the forest. When they had walked a little way, Hänsel began to stop, stand still, and stare back at the house. He did this over and over again. The father said, "Hänsel, why are you lagging and looking back? Mind what you're doing and get a move on." "Ach, father," said Hänsel, "I'm looking at my white kitten, who is sitting on the rooftop and wants to say goodbye to me." The mother said, "You fool, this is not your kitten. It's the morning sun shining on the chimney." Hänsel, however, had not looked back at a kitten, but each time had thrown one of the pebbles out of his pocket. When they had come to the middle of the forest, the father said, "Now gather wood, children. I'll make a fire so we don't freeze." Hänsel and Gretel worked together and built a nice bonfire. When they lit it, the flame burned brightly. The mother said, "Now lie down by the fire and sleep. We'll cut wood in the forest. Wait until we come again to collect you." Hänsel and Gretel sat by the fire until noon. Then they each ate their little bit of bread, and again at evening time. But the father and mother did not return. No one came to collect them. As it grew dark, Gretel began to weep, but Hänsel said, "Just wait until the moon has risen." And when the moon had risen, he took hold of Gretel's hand, and the pebbles shimmered like newly cut gems and showed them the way. All night they walked until they arrived again at their father's house. The father rejoiced from the bottom of his heart when he saw his children again, for he had reluctantly left them alone. The mother pretended to be happy, but truly, she was a traitor. Not long after, there was no bread left in the house, and Hänsel and Gretel heard the mother say to the father in the evening, "Those children found their way back. I left it as long as I could, but now there is nothing but half a loaf of bread in the house. Tomorrow you must lead them deeper into the forest, so they cannot come again. Otherwise, there is no hope for any of us." These words fell hard on the man's heart. He thought it would be better to share his last bit of food with his children, but because he had agreed once, he could not say no. Hänsel and Gretel heard their parents talking. Hänsel got out of bed to collect pebbles once again, but when he got to the door, he realized his mother had locked it. So he went back to bed and comforted his sister, saying, "Sleep, dear Gretel. God will help us." In the morning, the children received their bit of bread. It was even smaller than before. As they walked, Hänsel crumbled the bread in his pocket. As often as he dared, he stopped and threw a chunk to the earth. "Hänsel, why do you always stop and look around?" the father asked. "Get going." "I see my dove sitting on the roof and wishing me farewell." "You fool," said the mother, "that is not your dove. It is the morning sun shining on the chimney." Hänsel, however, crumbled his bread and threw the chunks on the path. The mother led the children even deeper into the forest, to a place where they had never been before. She ordered them to fall asleep once more beside a bonfire, and told them that in the evening she would be back to collect them. At lunchtime, Gretel shared her bread with Hänsel, because he had scattered his food on the way. Midday passed. Evening passed. No one came for the poor children. Hänsel comforted Gretel and said, "Look, when the moon rises, we will see the crumbled bread I have scattered. They'll show us the way home." The moon rose, but as Hänsel looked after the crumbs, they were gone. The countless birds of the forest had picked them up. Hänsel tried to find the way home, guiding Gretel beside him, but they got lost in the great wilderness. They walked all night and for another day. Then, when they fell asleep from fatigue, another day passed, but they did not find their way out of the forest. They were so hungry, and they had nothing to eat other than a few little berries they found on the ground. On the third day at noon, they came to a little house, which was built of bread and covered with cake. The windows were of spun sugar. "Now we can eat our fill," said Hänsel. "I will eat the roof, and you eat the window, Gretel. That should be sweet enough for you." Hänsel ate a good piece of the roof, and Gretel a few round window panes. She had just broke out another when the children heard a sweet voice calling out from within. "Nibble, nibble, gnaw. Who is munching on my house?" Hänsel and Gretel were so surprised that they dropped what was in their hands. Right away, they saw an ancient woman creeping out the door. She wobbled her head and said, "Ay, dear children, where have you come from? Come in with me, and it will be worth your while." The old lady took each child by the hand and led them into her house. The food was good. Milk and pancakes with sugar, apple, and nuts, and then 2 beautiful beds were prepared. Hänsel and Gretel thought they were in heaven. But the old woman was an evil witch who preyed upon children and had built her house of sweets to lure them. When kids came into her power, she killed them quick, boiling and eating them, and today was a feast day for her. She was so happy that Hänsel and Gretel had come to her. Early, before they woke, she rose up, went to their little bed, and admired them sleeping sweetly. She chuckled and thought, "This will be a tasty treat for me." She grabbed Hänsel and put him in a small stable. When he woke, he was all penned in. The witch went and shook Gretel, crying, "Get up, slacker! Fetch water! Go to the kitchen and prepare some food for your brother. He's in the stable to get fattened up. When he's nice and plump, I will eat him up. Now go feed him." Gretel was worried and wept, but she had to do as the witch told her. For many days the best food was fetched for Hänsel to fatten him, but Gretel got nothing but crab shells. Every day the old woman came and said, "Hänsel, stick out your fingers that I may feel whether you are fat enough." Hänsel, however, always stretched out a knuckle bone to her, and she was surprised that he had not gained weight. One evening after 4 weeks, the old woman said to Gretel, "Be quick, and go and get water. Whether your little brother is fat or not, tomorrow I will slaughter him and boil him. Meanwhile, I will make dough so we can bake it." With a heavy heart, Gretel went to get the water in which Hänsel would be boiled. Early in the morning she got up, made the fire, and hung up the kettle full of water. "Now watch it until it boils," said the witch. "I will make a fire in the oven so we can bake the bread." Gretel stood in the kitchen, weeping wildly. She thought to herself, "If wild animals had eaten us in the forest, at least we would have died together, and would not have had such heartache. I would not have had to boil the water for my own brother's death. Dear God, help us poor children in our hour of need." Then the old woman called out, "Gretel, come here to the oven." When Gretel came, she said, "Look in to see if the bread is already baked nice and brown. My eyes are weak, so I can't see that far. And if you can't sit on the board, I'll push you in, and then you can have a good look." But Gretel was on to her. That old woman would close the door and bake Gretel in the hot oven and eat her up. That was what the evil witch thought, and that was why she had called for Gretel. But God gave Gretel an idea, and she said, "I don't know how to do it. Show me first. You sit on it. I will push you in." And the old woman sat on the board. And because she was light, Gretel pushed her in as far as she could, and then she shut the door and locked the iron bolt. Then the old woman began to scream and wail in that hot oven, but Gretel ran away, and so she burned miserably. Gretel ran to Hänsel and opened the gate, and Hänsel jumped out. They kissed one another and were so glad. The whole cottage was full of fine gems and pearls. The children filled their pockets, left that place, and found their way home. Their father rejoiced when he saw them again. He had not had one day of peace since he had left his children. But now he was a rich man, and the mother had died.